Hello there. I am Joan Turner from joan.gallery.com. And it's in the morning. I usually do my tutorials in the evening because I'm not usually awake enough in the morning to do them. However, today is a different circumstance. I have been up since 6 o'clock in the morning and ready to go. And I do not drink coffee, so I get my caffeine by having my cocoa. Anyone who knows me knows that's drink of choice. Today, we're going to do a tutorial. We're going to do a fun and paint, what I call a fun and paint, which is Joan's version of a wine and paint, okay? But you can have your beverage of choice, all right? Mine's going to be hot cocoa for now. You can have coffee, you can have a glass of wine, you can have whatever your heart desires. You could have Kool-Aid, which I don't advise, but you could do that if you wanted to. So this is the picture that we're going to do today, all right? So you should actually have one of the, for those of you who are doing this with the Drake Council on Aging, they're sending out these little kind of packages or kits, all right? So this will probably be in your kit, all right? Because we're doing this for them and you, and they are very awesome there to do that for us, okay? So I'm going to tell you that you will need a palette. If you don't have an artist palette, you can use paper plates. You could use plastic coated plates. You could use wax coated paper type thing, or you could use a real palette. So we're going to use something for a palette. You're going to need brushes, right? And I don't think I took out enough brushes, so I'm going to go get some more. But you're going to need a large square head, a small square head brush, and then a detail brush, which this might or might not work. We'll see. I'm thinking that I need a little bit more of a pointed brush. So hold that thought. Let me run and get it. Let me run and get them. Okay, so I have a little brush caddy that I kind of have all my brushes in. And this is what it looks like. And it kind of rolls on the bottom here. Okay, so from here we can choose. You could choose a really small detail brush like this for very, very fine points, which I don't think we're going to need really for this picture. But then I have a kind of round-headed brush that has a little bit of a point on it. And I like these brushes because you can kind of get a lot of coverage with this part of the brush, but then the tip, it does come to a point. You could use it for a little detail. So I'm going to take those two brushes out and use them, okay? You will need paper towels. Lots and lots and lots of paper towels, okay? So this is not a big roll of toilet paper, like some people have suggested. It's a roll of paper towels. It's a big roll of paper towels. Paints, all right? For this picture, you will need blue, okay? I actually took out two different color blues, a deep turquoise and a Prussian blue, which is a darker blue. So in this picture, there's water, and the water is kind of different values of blue. If you're working with one of the DCOA kits, you probably only have one color of blue, but you do have white, all right? So I'm going to use some white, some blue, some red, probably a teensy bit of black, and the other thing I was thinking is maybe some brown. Okay, so there's a little bit of a landmass here. So again, if you don't have a handout, this is what it looks like close up. Kind of, these dolphins are almost silhouetted against the sky. Okay, so that's what it looks like close up. But even if you don't have a close up picture, we can still do this. Okay. The other thing that you need is water, okay? Water. And I usually keep like 3 bowls of water. so that I can do a first swish, and when I'm cleaning my brushes to get most of the paint off, and then I go into the second water bowl, and then the third. So I find that when I'm doing presentations, when I'm working on my own, I don't necessarily do that. But when I'm doing any kind of presentation or tutorial, I use 3 bowls because it's easier to clean that way. I don't spend a whole bunch of time cleaning the brushes. Okay, the other thing that you will need is a canvas. All right, you will need a canvas. This is called a stretched canvas because the canvas is stretched around a wooden frame, okay, and then stapled on the back. All right, you could use any size. This one happens to be a 16 by 20, and those of you with DCOA packs also have 16 by 20, but you could use any size canvas. We want to hold it vertically, all right? We want to hold it vertically on the easel. I have a table easel here, right, which you do not need to have a table easel. You can work very easily on your table, but so that everyone can see it here for this presentation, I'm going to use a table easel. If you're working on anything other than an art room table, cover it. Cover your tables, because acrylics, and that's what kind of paints these are, acrylic paints, once they dry, they're very permanent. Okay, so these are my paint clothes, and a lot of the paint that you see on these clothes that I've had for like years and years and years, the paint is caked on. Even when I bleach these, the acrylic paint does not come out. So once it dries, it is permanent. If you get it on your clothes and it's still wet, you can kind of run into the ladies' room or men's room and kind of get it off with soap and water. Other than that, you're kind of stuck with it. So I would say cover tables and floors, especially if you're a messy painter, okay? Like some people we know who will remain nameless. All right, your water dishes. Make sure you have water dishes that do not look anything like your drinking cups, okay? I have plastic cups like this, and this is peach tea. It's not booze, like everyone thinks, okay? So, and I used to use them as water bowls for the brushes for the students and stuff, but because they look like drinking cups, when you're focused on what you're doing, you're not even thinking about it. You reach over, and in your mind, that's a cup of the drinking cup. So I learned my lesson the hard way to not use water bowls or water containers that look like cups. They should look different, okay? So then your mind will kind of get used to that. So without further ado, I am going to switch the view of the camera over to the canvas, okay, so that you can see what I am doing. Ta-da! Okay, all right. So again, canvas. Hold your canvas vertically. That means up and down, like up and down. All right, so horizontally is this way, vertically is this way. So we're gonna hold it vertically. And if you have a really good camera, you'll probably notice that there's some colors on here already. And the reason for that is that this is a repurposed canvas, what I call a repurposed canvas. And that is because I do a lot of fun and paints, and I do wine and paints. And usually I end up with a number of the same kind of pictures, especially ones like this that people really love and are very popular. So what I do is I either keep or donate some of the nicer ones, and then I use the canvases for another fun and paint or for another reason. So I just repurpose the canvas, and you can put a layer of gesso, which is just paint primer. It's a canvas primer, or you can just paint a coat of white paint or two. Okay, this only has one, and that's why you can see some tinted colors behind it. Okay, so we are going to start with our sky. All right, in the sky, we're going to use, we're going to put white first on our plates here. let's go all the way down to the plate for now. Okay, so I'm going to put quite a bit of white on my palette, right? It's probably more than what I needed, but that's okay. And then I'm going to put some red beside it, okay? And that's probably more than what I needed too. I can see I'm in a very generous mood this morning. So when I look at these clouds, they do have some purple in them. Now, as I'm sure most of you know, when you mix red and blue, you end up with purple. Okay. So if you have purple and you want to just use purple, that's fine. Okay, but I am going to put some blue on my palette because I want to make my own purple. And the great advantage to mixing your own colors is that you get a color that you like, and it's usually a color that's unique. The only caveat to that is to make sure that you mix enough for what you actually need, because if you need to reproduce it and you don't get the exact same ratio, you end up with a different value or hue, okay? All right, so now I am going to take the white first, and I'm just taking about half of it because I'm thinking I will need probably that much to do the sky. Okay, now I'm going to take a little bit of red, and when I say a little bit, I mean a little bit, okay, because it starts to blend very quickly. So I'm taking a little at the time until I get a pink that I like. Now, let me tell you that this picture, the sky goes from a really deep kind of pink color here, and it gets lighter, lighter, lighter as it reaches the horizon line. The horizon line is where the water meets the sky meets the land, okay? So we are gonna go darker, and then we're gonna go lighter, 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 lighter until we reach the water line. Okay, so for my first mixture here, it's going to be kind of dark, okay? And I'm actually going to take just a little bit of my blue here and add some in, so we get these kind of purpley tones in here already. And I think that I want to take some brown, and just a little bit of brown, barely much at all, only because this pink kind of, and what I made was kind of a candy apple pink, which I'm not really too happy with. So I'm gonna tone it down by putting just a teensy bit of brown in it. And this brown is called burnt umber. And see how it kind of makes a dusty rose or a dusty pink in through here. So it just tones it down a little bit, and then I have a little bit of purple going on over here. So now I'm going to put the camera back up towards the canvas so that you can see what's going on. Okay. So again, picture, and I don't know, nope, you can't even see it up there. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's do the sky. Let's get this party started. Okay, so I am going to use broad strokes here. All right, nice broad strokes. And get really good coverage. And I definitely mixed too much paint. That's okay. All right, now you'll notice that I'm doing my edges, my sides. The advantage to doing your sides is that if you like the picture and you don't want to frame it, you want to kind of hang it as is, then if you continue the picture on the edges or sides of the canvas, then you have the freedom to do that. Or obviously you can frame it. So this just kind of gives you options. All right, so I'm going to again, look at this picture. This comes about more than halfway down the picture. So if halfway is like right here, I'm going to bring it down to like right about here. Okay. It's not an exact science, doesn't need to be an exact science. Okay. So I am very, very smoothly applying this paint all the way 2/3 down my canvas, like so. Okay. Okay. Someone said to me, "Oh, you have a catchphrase." And I'm like, "What do you mean I have a catchphrase? What's that all about?" And they're like, "You always say, okay, okay." And I said, "No, I don't." Okay? Hey, someone's got to defend me. All right. All righty then. So now, again, I'm going to look at these sides, these edges, and come down here. Some people, when I do classes, they say, "Oh, I'll do the edges afterwards." Not a good idea, because, like I said, then you have a hard time kind of matching the paint. Now, what I had said to you earlier is that I wanted the darkest value up against the top here. So I'm actually dipping my brush in the red, and while this paint is still wet, I'm adding more red to the top. So that's going to make a more concentrated sky up here. It's going to make it redder. Okay. So, I mean, we're making the sky pink, but by adding this red, we're deepening the value of it. We're making it more red. Right? And you'll notice that I'm only going to come down about this far. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit more. Like this. And what is that? Let's get rid of that. There we go. All right. So a nice rich value, a nice red here. Okay. So now I want to go just a teensy bit lighter, because as I said to you, we are going to get lighter as we come down the canvas and get into where the land is. Okay, so I want this red pink to be lighter here than it is here. Okay, and I want to smooth out some of that. Okay, so there's a little bit here. Let's go a little bit darker here. Make sure that you don't have raw canvas showing. Raw canvas is when you miss a spot and you can see the canvas through your paint. That's a no work. Okay. Okay. Let's do this. All right. Okay, a little bit more white down here. All right, I'm going back and forth, back and forth. If I don't go back and forth, if I just do this, I'm going to end up with some brush strokes there that I may not want. All right, as we're coming down here, what we have is an extremely light pink. Okay, let me make sure. Oh, we are still recording. I did a Fun and Paint tutorial at one point, and never, it said it was recording through the entire 3 hours. However, when I turned off the recorder, it said the file was corrupt and I was not able to use it, and I had to redo the whole tutorial. So I had 2 pictures that were exactly the same, except that one was a little bit more dramatic and traumatic because I was like painting. So the second picture is actually almost more assertive, almost aggressive than the first. Okay, so let's look and see what we have here. It's looking pretty good, pretty good. Right, I want to put in some of these clouds. Right, so these cloud areas are pretty ding dong dang dock. Right, so I am going to use what I have on my plate plus a little bit of the purple to put in these kind of darker clouds, which kind of come down here and almost towards the middle of my canvas, right? So this I am going to kind of crisscross on like this. Okay. Okay. We want to take this here. I'm going to add a bit more of the blue and red. So I took some of the blue and then I went into the red and I did this and got this kind of purpley color here, which I want to put, oh, nice, right here. That's what I wanted. That's what we needed. Okay, so let's do that. Then we have this other piece that kind of comes out like this. So at this point, I'm actually kind of shaping, just kind of shaping things in here a little bit. Like where does she want her clouds to be? Right, we have a big one kind of here. That kind of comes down this way. Again, red and purple. And if you're not able to keep up, that's quite all right. Pause the tape, pause the recording. We don't really do anything with tape anymore. Everything's digital now. Okay, so I have this. I'm going to put this cloud here, like here, I think. Then I want another one coming here. So right now, just kind of putting in shapes, a little bit of shape here and there. Right, that kind of, one right here, I think so. Right. And does your picture need to look exactly like mine? It does not. And it's probably nicer if it doesn't, because we are all different, we are all unique. So if your picture looks a little bit different or even a lot different, that is a-okay. It should have your personality in it. And when you see pictures that you like, the first thing I think of when I see a picture I really like, it inspires me, and I go, oh my gosh, that's really beautiful. How can I make it even better? Okay, that wants to be your thought process, kids. Kids, young and old. We do some, I am the resident artist at the Drake Council on Aging, so when I was saying DCOA earlier, that's what I was talking about. The Drake Council on Aging, my home away from home. The good people there asked me to create this series that you're seeing here. And I have had the greatest of fun doing just that. I want to do a little bit more work on these clouds. Now that I know where they are, where I want them, I'm going to look here and see about maybe adding a few more. I'm going to make this area a little bit whiter in here. I like that awesome contrast of what's going on down here. So I'm going to add a little bit more to it. And now, again, I'm going to take my purple and, my red and blue, and I'm making purple. Okay, for these kind of darker clouds that are here, like this. And then there's another one down here that I'm kind of really liking. These are all darker over here. So this is going to be a relatively purple picture. Okay. Now we have another little guy, kind of comes down here. I kind of liking that. Nice. Let's do some more little guys over here. So there's an awful lot going on in this sky. We're A-okay, we don't mind at all. And if you decide that you don't want your clouds to be as purple as this, they do not have to be as purple as this. If you want them redder, if you want them whiter, they can be whatever your heart desires because you are the creator. And that's a good thing, right? Okay, so this is my sky. I'm going to take this brush and put it in my water bowl because now that this painting is, the paint is on here, but as acrylic paints dry relatively fast, so I want to blend in some of these clouds. Some I'm going to make a little darker, but I also want to put the white highlights on so it looks beauteous. But it actually does really good if, in fact, the paint is tacky, right? So I don't want it all the way dry. I would like it to be tacky, just so I can blend in some darker values and some highlights. So what I'm going to do is take this brush. I wonder if I have a bigger. Of course I do. Okay, so I'm going to take the brush with a point, and I'm going to start working with these clouds. So again, I'm going to take some red and blue, and I'm going to get a purple that I really like. And I'm going to begin to put some different colors and values into these clouds. And as I say, the paint is actually just kind of tacky right now. So I'm going to take a dry brush and just kind of feather it a little bit. Now, sometimes it takes a little bit of practice to learn a feathering technique. But once you have it, you have it. And it's an amazing thing. You'll absolutely love it. So in the handout, this is actually quite a bit darker than what I'm making it, but I'm doing that on purpose. I was going to say on porpoise, but these are definitely dolphins. Okay, so I'm giving them a little bit of darkness, and then I'm doing what's called dry brushing. All right, so this particular brush does not have any paint on it, okay, except for what I'm doing here. So in order to keep my dry brush dry, I'm going to take a paper towel, all right, and clean off any paint that has collected there, right, so that I can continue to dry brush. And what that does, it gives us a nice fluffy, look. Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to switch back to the smaller brush. I'm going to go back into my purple, and blue and red and make purple. And now I'm going to bring this down here like this. And the reason I'm doing this is to give my clouds a little bit of layering. Like I said, the paint on here is getting just a little bit tacky, which in this case is a good thing. So we'll blend that. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to dry brush, take a dry brush, make sure all the paint is off of it, and just kind of feather the edges a little bit here. Okay, and like I said, because it's tacky, it makes it a little bit easier to do. Okay, I'm going to stand back here for a second. Yeah, okay, I'm digging. Going back into the purple I created here. And let's get a little bit on here, like this. A little bit here. This. I'm going to put some on here, some on here. I am liking this combination. Okay. Let's bring some out. Let's bring all this out of here. Okay. So you can see what's starting to go on here. Okay, our clouds are certainly building. Okay, blue, red, getting nice, some magenta colors, getting some nice bluish colors in here. Okay, I'm going to dry brush some of these. Okay, and remember when you're dry brushing that the paint is going to collect on this brush. So you want to make sure you have a paper towel handy so that we can pick up any of the extra paint that's accumulated. Okay, we're getting there, we're getting there. Okay, if this begins to dry out too much, you can tip just the tip of the brush into the water. But do not water down your paints. You will not like what that looks like if you do that. Okay. Okay, this one I thought I would stretch out a little bit more here. I wasn't liking the shape of that one. So that's the cool thing, is that you can change them as you go along. Okay, so I'm gonna bring you in a little bit closer so you can kind of see what's going on here. And as you're working this picture, it's a good idea to step back a little bit and take a look at what's going on. Pictures always look good when they have lots of contrast on them. Okay, so I am going to now go back into the purple that I created here. Okay, and I'm going to create a little bit more as I go along here. And along the base of these clouds, I'm going to get them in just a little bit darker. And maybe even overlap a little bit. Okay, so I'm using a kind of a round stroke here while trying to hold the canvas because it, it wants to do that. Okay, so if in fact you do what I just did, just clean your brush off, okay, and while the paint is still relatively wet, you can do that. Okay, so I'm going to take and dry brush this a little bit. So we're really getting some different colors, different values in here. Okay, so go through a lot of paper towels, lots of paper towels. I'm going to dry brush this a little bit. I'm going to dry brush that one a little bit. Okay. I am going to, with a little bit more purple. And this time I'm going to go a little bit more into the red side to kind of do the tops of these because I want the darker purpley parts to be on the bottom. And of course the lighter parts are going to be on the top. So the darkest parts are on the bottom. Don't forget your edges. Okay. All right, we're going to add a little bit more dark to this side. So again, I'm looking for contrast here. I tell my students, you know, one of the most challenging thing for a student to do is to diagnose the problem. They'll look at their picture and they'll say, something is not quite right here. I don't know what it is. And you cannot fix what's wrong with it if in fact you don't know what's wrong with it. So what I tell them is the first word that should come to your mind when something is not quite the way you want it to be is contrast. The word is contrast. Okay, so if your picture looks a little ho-hum, it's because there's not enough contrast there. We want more. We want more. Ta-da-ta-ta-ta-ta. And these at the bottom here, they're just kind of a light bluish color over here. So we're gonna let them stay nice and blue over here. And I think I could add some blue over here. That would look pretty. Adds a nice value. Ah, nice. Okay, I'm going to add some more. to over here and here. Okay, I don't want to lose all of the dark I put on there though. Okay. So we want awesomeness. Ah, we go. Now it's talking. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. All right. So what I have here is a lot of patchy paint work. So I'm going to put this brush in the water, and I am going to take my dry brush and start blending some of this a little bit. Yeah. I don't want my easel to fall again. Yeah. Okay. Let's put some of this good stuff in here. Okay. So blending, blend here. Again, I don't want to lose any of the nice darkness that I created here. I want to keep it. Okay, I have feeling flicks of paint are going into mine. Maybe I better move it. Especially if I'm going to drink it anyway. Apologize for my squeaky table. My art table, this art table is about 25 years old. It was made for me by a friend of a friend who is in the busyness of doing that type of thing. And I have been in Haverhill, I'm in Bradford, actually now a good 25 years or so. So when I first moved here, I'm like, I need to set up my art studio. And when I moved here, this room did not have any lighting in it. So I hired an electrician to come in and put in some overhead lights. And he says, what are you looking for down here? And, you know, because before I moved in here, I think the people were maybe using it as a den. I live in a townhouse, so there's like 3 floors here. So I said to him, I want the type of lighting. I said, that will it'll look like daylight in here, even at 12 o'clock midnight. So I need really good lights for this room. So he was like, oh, okay. And he did a great job. And so we have nice lighting in this room. And the table, like I say, was made specifically for art. And if you get a glance at it, which I'm sure you can see that it's pretty covered with paint over here. And that's 25 years worth of student work and Joni work and all kinds of stuff. So even though I do wipe it down a little bit now and again, all right, it gets a lot of paint on it. Plus, it squeaks. So there you have it. It's a squeaky table. But if I were as old as it was, I would squeak too. No comments. No comments, please. Okay. Ooh. All right, so this is looking rather awesome here. So I'm going to take another gander at it. All right, I have some lines in here that I'm going to soften a little bit. I like it. I like it. Okay, so what I am wanting to do now is to add some highlight. All right, so I'm going to take this white and just mix it in with this blue a little bit so that my highlights are really on the light side, and maybe I want them even whiter than that. I'm going to actually switch. Now I have all my brushes here, and let's try this here. Yeah. Okay, so I'm swishing in my clean water here. All right, so that this brush is clean. It doesn't have any other color paint on it. It's my, what we call a round head brush, but it has a detail kind of point on it. And the only reason I'm going with that is because I want to actually be very detailed with what I'm doing. But before I do that, I'm going to put my moon in. So pick something round. This is a little shot glass that I got from the dollar store. I think it was like a package of 20 or something on that idea. And all I'm doing is I'm actually just kind of dragging it through the white so that I get a little bit of a rim. So I think I want it to go maybe here. Ta-da! Okay, so now I'm going to clean my little cup off, like so that I may use it again for something else. And I'm going to take this brush and just go into my white and make my moon in here. Now, unless you have a really thick white, you're going to need to make a couple of passes on this. All right, try to make sure it stays round, and you don't want it to look like a marshmallow. Okay, so I'm turning it upside down, and the reason I'm doing that is just to give myself more control. Because sometimes when I look at mine, I'm like, okay, it does look like a marshmallow. Okay. Okay, so I'm resting my baby finger on the canvas, which is tacky still. That's a pretty good size moon. So you could make yours smaller, you could make yours bigger. You can make it whatever you like. Okay, so I'm adding a few brush strokes in here so that our moon has a little bit of texture to it, which I'm kind of liking that. And again, I'm going to just fan it for a few seconds so that I can actually put a second coat of paint on there. Even though it's probably not that noticeable on the picture, it's still kind of pinky. And I don't mind that. I like that it is a little bit pinky, but I also want it to have some white highlights, like really white highlights. So I'm just going to give it a few seconds to dry. And then I am going to dip into my white and just give us a little bit more white around here. And like I said, I'm perfectly happy leaving some of the pink in, but I wanted to have a nice white highlight too. Okay. That looks awesome. I'll tell you, painting is like magic. It's like something you have in your head, or a picture that you're looking at and you see it and you go, oh, and then you can kind of see it in your head as you're going along. It's in a very, very exciting procedure. So I'm looking at the highlights on these clouds. So that's why I'm using a brush that has a little bit more of a point to it so that it can give me a little bit more control. And I'm going to put my highlights right here and right along this bottom here. And then, you guessed it, we are going to dry brush it out a little bit. Okay, so I want it to just kind of highlight in through here. That could be just a little bit redder. Let's pick up a little red. Get some red in here. Okay. There we go. And then all the way onto the top. Down here a little bit. Check it out. Let's get us a little bit more. Using my fingers. Whatever works. That's what the answer is. How do I know? How do I know when to do that? Someone asks. I said, when it works, when you're thinking, I need a little bit more here, I need a little bit more there. Sometimes you just got to take the plunge and put your hands right in your work. Yeah, I'm kind of liking that. Kind of liking it. Do a little bit more. Yeah. There we go. The moon's a little drier. Let's give it one more little hint. Color. Okay, I'm going to take these guys here. Just kind of ripple, 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 ripple. Yeah. Okay, dry brush it down, bring it down into your cloud. Okay, we want our clouds to look puffy. And I'm going to give myself a little bit more red because I would like these clouds to be a little bit more maroon in color than they are. So I'm going to start to add a little bit more red. As I'm coming down here with my white and blending this good stuff in. There we go. Nice. Okay. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, beauteous. Whoa. Okay, that surprised me. All right, now let's put this up here. Let's pull some of that off. Okay, so again, we want to introduce a little bit more red in here. And I'm going to pick up a little bit more white. My phone is going off. I apologize if you can hear it. Okay, a little bit of a cloud within a cloud. Use your fingers. Get that nice, nice fullness in there. Okay, for this guy, I thought I had red on my brush. I actually had white on there, so I'm going to. And it's a good idea. Like I say, if you make a mistake, like don't panic. It's paint. It's not the end of the world, certainly. And in most cases, it's pretty fixable. Find that students panic. They go, ah, look what I did. I'm like, it's okay. Don't worry about it. We can fix that. And they're always like, oh, thank you. Because they think that I did it when actually they did it themselves. They say, oh, you make it look so easy. And I say, well, it is kind of now, that it wasn't 40 years ago. It's like anything else, anything you do all the time. You get used to it. Okay, I'm going to put this brush in the water because I haven't been using it. And if your paint dries on your brushes, you're in deep yogurt. So just like it will dry permanently on your clothes, it will do the same thing with your pour brushes. They will forever be stuck together. And if that happens, then you can use them as dotting tools for your mandalas because the points will stay stuck and you'll be able to use it to dot your mandalas. So even at that, not all is lost. And some people have on purpose taken brushes that they decided they didn't need anymore or they weren't going to use and done that very thing with them. They'll either make them into flat surfaces or pointed surfaces. Okay, so we have the light stuff at the top here, and then we're kind of going down here with the reds and the purples. And don't forget, we have all that really nice dark blue underneath here. So that's giving us a nice base to work with. Okay, I mix these together and create, they look like cotton candy clouds. Someone asked me if I noticed that I relate everything to food. I don't, right? Okay, I'm liking that one. Let's bring this one out a little bit more here. And I kind of leave that dark in there. I think I'm liking that dark in there. Dark in here. Let's go a little bit. I want to keep that dark in there. Let's see. Let's see what we can do here. I can take a little bit of this red, mix it with this blue, And go darker, darker in here, just like that. Okay. That's better. Now I'm going to take my white once again. Nice. There we go. There we go. Now we've got some good cloud cover. There we go. Cool. Let's take a little bit of this red, bring some of this down into our cloud. Nice, nice. Okay. Gives our cloud a nice finished look. Nice. Okay. I can put just a little bit more red over here. That cloud. So our clouds on this side are looking pretty good. So now we want to work the other side of the clouds, but before I do, I see something right here that I'd like to work on. Okay. All right, so let's put some of this in here. Like that. This over there. Let's get some of that nice darker color in here. Okay, let's put a little bit of a highlight color here. Nice. And we like that our clouds have a lot of depth. A lot of depth to those babies. I like it. Okay, I'm going to switch to a bigger brush just because I want to smooth out some of this over here a little bit. I have blue on the brush. I want to go a little bit bluer, pinker. Okay. So, and we have all those nice rich colors underneath that are supporting us. So go for the gold. Go for it. And don't forget to do your edges. Okay, so I wanted this to be a little bit more solid in here. And that looks a little bit better to me. I'm gonna put that back into the water and take a little bit of the red here. So let's switch back to the bigger brush, because I think down here I would like this to be a lot redder. There we go. Nice. Okay. Nice and dark over here. And again, you know, when we go over the blue parts, we end up with a bit of purple, which is absolutely beauteous. Okay, so I'm looking for a little bit more magenta here. So as I go along, I'm making changes. Okay, that looks better to me. I'm going to dip into my white just a little bit and drag some of that into this wet paint. Right, so just a little bit here. Okay, so this is going to give me, again, that little bit of cloudy, puffy, cotton candy clouds that I like. Cotton candy clouds. I like that idea. Okay, so I'm blending it right into the paint that I have on here already. And boy, oh boy, am I liking that. So now I have that. I'm dipping my little pointed brush into the white, and I'm liking this a lot. I'm going to bring this here. I'm going to do another small ribbon of white here. I'm going to pull this down just a little bit so it's still kind of wet. Again, it gives me a nice puffy cloud. Okay. Let's see what we have. Let's do this over here. Nice, nice. Liking it. One thing I always admonish my students, and the reason I do is because I do it myself, is the tendency to overwork things, okay? When they look good, stop. Because it's like, the tendency is like, oh my God, this looks so cool, I want to do some more now, okay? And sometimes that little bit of some more is just enough to throw things off a little bit. And then you're working, trying to bring back what you had before that you really, really liked. And you're like, oh my God, it's ruined now, it's ruined. But they're not. They are not ruined. You can always, the very worst that could happen is that you really, really didn't like it and you paint over it. That's it. That's the worst that could happen. The world doesn't end. Nothing like that. Nothing like that happens. You just paint over it. Okay, so these are going to be a little bit lighter. Maybe not as prominent. The other ones. Okay, like that. I think this guy needs a little bit more going on here. I'll tell you, we could stop right here. Just the clouds themselves look pretty good. I'm going to take a little bit, I think, of just the white and the blue and kind of add a little bit more shape and context here to these bottom lower clouds. They're low in the sky. Okay, so we're just gonna leave them just the way they are. And they don't have a lot of definition because they're like way off somewhere, way off into the distance, into the distant distance. Okay, so again, you know, if we've done quite a bit of work here, but if you're still not kind of caught up, by absolutely stop the recording and take your time and catch up, because now we're going to go ahead and work on our water. Or actually, before we, well, do we want to do that? Let me see. Here we have a landmass right here, and then we have our water. So do we want to do our water first and then our landmass? When you're doing acrylics or oils, you always work from the back forward. So I'm going to say, let's put in our landmass. And before I do that, let me clean up some of these lines a little bit. Okay, and when I say clean up these lines, I have some stray paint lines going here and there. So all I did is put a little bit of water on the brush and wipe them off of there. And I'm actually going to go ahead and give this a nice white highlight. Okay, and again, leaving kind of some of the pink of the background. Okay, because we don't want it to be just like a white dot in the middle of the picture. Picture. Someone said to me, I was at an art reception in the Boston area, and people come from all over, certainly, to take part in a conference called the Regia, which is actually a sci-fi conference, but as part of the festivities, they have a weekend-long art show. And like I say, people come from all over to talk. And at the first night of opening, they have a wine and cheese reception, which is extremely cool. And so I was talking to this person there, and he, whatever I said, he said, aha. And I said, well, what do you mean, aha? He said, well, I did not know where you were from until you said that word. Now, I don't know what the word was, but whatever it was, I'm pretty sure I left the R out. Like, pack the car and have it yet. So I cracked up laughing, and I said, oh, I said, you didn't know before then, huh? He goes, nope. He says, now, he said, I do. So I try to enunciate and pronounce things correctly, but you know, old habits die hard. It's the way we were brought up. Pack the car. Okay, I think, let's see, I have some little lines here maybe. I can clean, okay, a little bit of glow from our moon. We can have moon glow. There we go. How about a moon glow? And actually, since that's on the side of the moon, maybe we do want to make those a little bit brighter. True, true. Okay. I understand. Let's go a little bit brighter here. Okay. Better? Take a look. Take a look. Okay. All right, I think we'll stop there. All right, let's do our land mass. All right, so from here down is going to be water. Our land mass is about 2/3 of the way down, which puts it right about here. Like so. Okay, and if you look at this land mass, see where the point is? It's about halfway. Okay, so this gives us an idea about where things are going. All right, it's going to end up being like right here. So I'm giving myself a little guide dots. And I think what I will do is actually give myself some guidelines. Right, so I'm just really taking some of the red paint, really just watering it down quite a bit, just so that I can use it like a pencil and draw. Okay, so the point is going to come up like this. Then it kind of comes down like this. I want it to end here, so I'm going to come up and do another little mountain area right here, I think. Okay, so now I know exactly where my land is going, and I don't have to guess. But what I do need is some more paint. Okay, so I'm going to save this paint dish and put it behind here. And I'm going to give myself some brown. Okay, this particular brown is called burnt umber. Okay, and umber is a really dark brown. It's almost black in color. Okay, so I'm going to take that and a square-headed brush. Clean it out really good. So now even my clean water is not that clean anymore. So let's take a look at what we have here. You know, it'd be nice to add just a little bit of green, which we don't have out, but we do have some yellow. So I think I'll put some little bit of yellow and a little bit of blue. And you, if you don't already know, should know that blue and yellow does make green. Okay. So I am going to take a little bit of my white here and put it on my palette. And I'm going to add the brown to that. But I'm going to leave some of the darker brown over here, okay? So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to start putting in some of these peaks here. Okay. Right now, these land masses, okay, are going to be on the large side here. And they're going to come all the way down to here. Okay, so now I'm going to take the darker brown for the background mountain here, mountain, the peak, because I definitely want to be able to see the difference between them. Okay, so what I'm doing is actually giving myself some more brown. At least I hope I am. This is pretty empty here. Okay, so I'm taking my brown and putting it on this background mountain area here, doing my edge and bringing this away. Okay, and now I'm taking this side and coming down here like this, putting in this one. Okay, and this is the side that has a little bit of white in it, so I can see the difference. I can see the difference in the mountain or hill area in the front and the one in the back. Okay, so I can go darker here because it still has some white in it. Okay, so now I can use just my brown coming down my side, like so. And we have this nice dark area over here. Okay, so I actually am thinking, let's bring this out just a little bit more here. So it looks a little bit more natural. Okay, bring this out a little here, a little there. Okay, so I'm taking my dark brown and putting in some darker areas here. Okay, I'm going to use the light of this mountain and create another mountain in front of it by just using the darker brown. Okay. Okay, so we can continue to do that without any problem at all. That happens really fast. All right. So we have our really dark browns and our lighter browns, certainly. Dark in the back. All right, so now we have some cool landmass stuff going on here. So what I am thinking is I'm going to, if you can see the tops of these, they have some highlight and moonlight on them as well. But I'm going to mix a little bit of my blue and a little bit of my yellow. And this gives me kind of a nice greenish color. And I did not clean the brown off of my brush. Okay, so I'm going to just dab some of this green on the sides of my mountains, because I added more mountains. Okay, and I'm going to come in a little bit close so you can see where the green is on the mountains. Okay. And now I'm going to take a little bit of this white, and I'm still not cleaning off my, brush. And I want to give my mountains highlights because they're facing, this part is facing the moon, all right? And it's a nice bright moon here. So we're gonna put in some nice highlights here. All right, now you may say, well, it's not all those highlights in the handout, Joan. And to that, I say, so what? I like it. And you may say, so what? I don't like it, and then not put yours in, which is A-okay, because you are the creator. All right. So I'm going to take my dark brown once again and go over this. So my mountains are kind of a greenish brownish color now, which I'm really liking. And I want to, once again, I'm going to dip into that white just a little bit because I'd like a little bit more light here. Okay, so I'm just tapping along the edges here. And there's another, kind of created another mountain here. Mountain top here. Okay, and a little bit more white on the brush. And let's do the top of this one. Okay. Drag this out just a tad here. Right, and I actually have another little mountain guy going over here. Like I said, I put in a few more than what was at handout because I wanted to. And you can do stuff just because you want to too. Well, I'll be dipped. I'm kind of liking that. Okay, I am going to move all these brushes to a different water because they look like they're going to fall on the floor. Okay, so this little guy, I'm going to just kind of even out some of that white that's in there by using this little pointy brush. But that's pretty much all I think I'm going to do to those. Okay. So now that brings us to our water, which is pretty exciting. Pretty exciting to be there already. Okay. So we're looking, look at our picture. We are so getting there. All right. So our water is going to be blue, and you can see some shadow in the water where the dolphins are. But let's focus on the water. And water is one of my very favorite things to do. So I am going to put, again, I have two different kinds of blue. This is a deep turquoise. Now, turquoise, you can have a blue turquoise, you can have a green turquoise. All right, I am going to put in two different color blues. Okay, so I have deep turquoise, and then I have Prussian blue, which is almost like a navy blue. Okay. Once again, I'm going to have some yellow at the ready because I do want to put in a little bit more green than they have in this handout, and definitely running out of yellow too. Okay, let's see here. Ah, success! Ta-da! All right, so here's my yellow, my two blues, my green, and we know we need white, so I do have some white left over from here. And I need a big brush because, again, I'm going to cover this area and kind of do like what we did on the sky. I'm going to cover it with a base coat, and then I'm going to introduce some colors in here. So that means big brush. Okay, so big, the square-headed brush, which is the very first brush that we used to get our sky on. And mine's still rather pinky here. So I am going to rinse yet again. All right, so now I want to take some white, kind of a lot of white, and put it on this palette and mix it in with my blues, like so. Okay, so this is a really awesome color here. So I'm going to go right up against this mountain area here, like that, and come all the way across with my paints. Okay, and because I did not mix it well, it has some white going through it, which I absolutely love. That's a-okay with me. Okay. All right, so I'm getting some of the different blues in here. See how I have two different color blues? All right, so in they go, in they go. And then I'm picking up some of the white and putting that on here. So one might say, gosh, she's mixing right on the canvas. And if you are thinking that or saying that, you would be correct. So right here on the canvas, we're having a little bit of fun here. And because this is water, I kind of like the idea that there's a lot of different values going on. Okay, over here, because it's kind of further away, we want it a little bit darker. So I'm going to use the darker blue here, which in my case is Prussian blue. And if your blue is not dark enough and you would like it darker, you could add a little bit of black to it. You could add a little bit of brown to it. Whenever you add brown to a color, you always dust it. So if you were going to add brown to, say, pink, then you'd end up with like a dusty rose color. If you want to gray something, like a slate gray or something on that idea, you would use black. So black to kind of gray things, and brown to dust. Okay, so I'm trying to straighten out my horizon line here because I noticed it was taking a dive. Okay, let's do this. There we go. There we go. Okay, so mixing some white in here like this, because I'm going to try picking this up, or maybe I'm going to try turning it around. Might be the smarter way to do it. And do this, okay? I'll do my edge, because that's easy. Again, I'm going to do this. And again, be wary of leaving any raw canvas. We don't want any raw canvas. All right, a raw canvas is when, you know, there's not quite enough paint on the brush and we get these little squeaky patches of canvas showing. Okay, so we do not want that. So this blue is a lot different than this blue, but I like it. So that's why we have that. So if your blue is darker or lighter, it's absolutely okay, as long as you have more paint or darker paint in the far away distance. Okay, so bring this paint all the way down here. Okay, we want it nice and smooth. And I'm trying to hold on to my canvas because I don't want it to go flying like it did before. Doing my canvas bottom. Good, good, good. And again, you know, what that does for you is it gives you options, okay? If your canvas is not done on the bottom or on the edges, and the seam does not continue along the sides, then you kind of have to frame it. Just gives you options. And not everything, I mean, I think most pictures look better framed, but not everything has to be framed. If you're, I have a parent that had 3 kids taking lessons. So they were all kind of working on the same thing. And, you know, so the mom would end up with 3 pictures, and eventually, you know, you run out of room in your house. Where am I going to put all these pictures? Plus, it gets expensive to frame, you know, mat and frame them all. Okay, so so that's how we kind of got the idea of like, okay, let's go ahead and do the sides here. Okay, so I'm going a little bit darker here, all right, and adding, you know, both blues. I want this to be a very rich, colorful ocean here. So I'm going to add some deeper values, especially as we're further away. Now, as I'm looking at this, the colors here and at the top may not merge together so well. So I'm going to take a little bit of red here and just kind of introduce a little bit of purple, because that's what we have up above here, a little bit of purple. So let's do that. Let us do that. Okay. I'm going to take, especially where it's close to the top, let's make it a little closer to the colors that are up above. There we go. Okay, and again, we want to go back and forth, back and forth. And then, of course, we can get lighter as we come down here. Okay, I'm going to continue with the red because I like the tie-in. All right, so again, when you're adding red to blue, you're ending up with purple, certainly. And because we have a lot of kind of purple in the sky, it looks better. I mean, I like the other color better, but this ties in better with the sky. So we'll behave and do it so that it looks good. Still going a little bit lighter down here on the bottom. Okay, just adding that purpley hue. All right, let's smooth this out just a tad. Okay, so I'm going to go a little darker. Okay, and remember, once again, that when you look at your picture, if something is not quite kosher, not quite right, the first word that should come to your mind is contrast. Contrast. We need contrast. Okay, so Let me try to get some of these lines out of here. This is really drying fast. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna stand back for a second and take a look at this. And I'm gonna get my cold hot chocolate. And that actually does look better. I could use even a little bit more red in it. Okay. So let's go ahead and put a little bit more red. That's giving us a nice, rich purpley kind of color, especially up here, which I think we need. So I'm gonna take some more and bring it down here. Okay, and try to keep those lines relatively smooth. Even though we're gonna make a few ocean waves in here, still want a nice field to play on. Okay. I'm gonna move it a little bit lighter down here. We're still gonna go in a little bit more purpley, but we still want to leave it lighter here and darker there. As a matter of fact, we're going to put in a little bit of a landline there by using our dark brown, which I have been using a burnt umber, which is a very dark brown. And I'm just putting some on my palette. Okay, and I am going to use the brush that I have been using right along. Okay, and I'm going to pick up some of this brown. Okay, pick up some of the brown. That, like I said, I still have the bluish, it's the same brush that I used to just paint this water. Okay, so I'm thinking, let's go and bring this mountain, this area over just a little bit. Okay, and what this does is it gives us a little bit of, depth to the picture if in fact it looks like this landmass is partially in the water. And I'm going to switch brushes here a little bit because I'm not getting what I need from that brush. Okay. Or this one. Okay, we won't use that one either. Let's try you. I'm into the brown. Okay. And this is a new tube of brown, so it's a little bit different consistency. There we go. I'm going to add it to this area, this mountain area, and put this this mountainous area here into the foreground a little bit. There we go. Okay, so again, that gives me a little bit of land here. Let's drag this down just a little bit also. Okay, see what's happening? Can you see what's happening? We're putting some land in the front here. And we may need to let that dry a little bit more. Because I'm seeing the water through it. that dry some. And now I'm going to, again, go back to my big brush, going back into my brown here, and I'm going to drag out the land, okay? Drag out the land right this way. So now we have land. That goes all the way across here. Okay, I'm going to pick up some of my blue with the same brush and just kind of work it over this land a little bit. Okay, so it kind of goes into the water here. This little guy. And do this. Okay, so can you see how we ended up with that little bit of land going on there? Okay, so now while the blue of the water is still kind of wet, it should be a tacky kind of wet, I'm going to dip into my white and I'm going to make these little kind of wispy, kind of inverted V's, if you will, but I want them to be waves. Okay, and if I don't clean off my brush, what ends up happening is the brush ends up running out of paint. Okay, so I end up with these really cool waves here. Now, the deeper you make these points, the bigger the waves are going to be. Okay, so unless you really want a roaring, rollicking water mass here, we want to keep them kind of on the light side. Okay. I have a little here around this mountain area. Okay, it's starting to look like water. Just a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to switch to the bigger brush for down here, I think. Okay, and the bigger brush is the one that I use to actually apply all of this. Right, so I'm going to put it into my white and I'm going to do some of this area here. Okay, and again, you know, I'm going to make them a little bit on the shallow side. Okay, if I make really deep shapes, the waves are going to look humongous. All right, so they can be kind of bigger, like where we are, we're from, you know, standing in front of them, certainly. But the ones in the background definitely want to be thinner, thinner. Okay, so we want these V shapes to be rather shallow, let's say. Okay, and these are the ones kind of closest to us. So, okay, we want them a little bit bigger, but we don't want them too big. Okay, so I'm going to face this towards me just a little bit more. Okay, so we can kind of see where these waves are going. And I'm actually doing crisscross type of wave action here. So that we get a really watery type of look. Again, right around here, I definitely, okay, and these are really shallow. Okay. Really shallow, far away waves. Okay, and if you make anything too whitish, you know, you can always add a little bit more blue back in, and that will give you a nice watery look also. Okay, if you wanted a nice deep wave here, you certainly could put one in. easily. Okay, these are where our dolphins are going to be playing. So we want a nice area for them. Okay, because our dolphins are going to come out. They're going to be, this one's going to be way up here. And even though this one is kind of higher up over this mountaintop, mine's going to be in front of it. And then the other one's going to be here. Okay, unless I move it all the way over here and then go this way and this way. Nah, I got to put it where I want it. Okay, so let's do a little bit of this and then. Okay. So your blue is probably just about tacky here, which kind of works out well because it'll hold some of the paint and it'll mix some of the other paint in. Okay, and again, our dolphins are going to be like right around here. So, you know, let that kind of remain dark because we're going to put, we want to put that shadow in there. Okay, so I'm going to look at this border from afar. Okay, let's see how we're doing with the time. We seem okay. Let's do this. All right, and I'm going to dip into the really dark blue here. And then I have a little bit of black out here. Or maybe that's dark blue. I take it back. Okay, that's a dark blue. All right, and I'm going to put it like right here. Okay, again, because this is where my dolphins are going to kind of be playing here. So I want this to be a little bit darker. Right into here, here, and here. All right, and if you're not sure where those little guys are going to go in your picture, you can hold off on this dark area, but I'm pretty ding dang dong sure these are going to go here. All right. So I have a little bit of a darker area there, which is a-okay. Okay, let's put a little dark here. Let's go a little bit darker here. Dipping into the white. There we go, right up close on that one. Let's see if I can pick this up. Down here. Oh, that's kind of cool. Let's see. Okay, I think we're ready for dolphins. So I'm going to do the same thing for the dolphins that I did with my mountains. That is, I'm going to draw them in. Okay, so I'm really, really, really going to water down. I was going to use brown, but I think I will use white because I am going to put one over. I made more mountains than what is in this picture. So I want my dolphin to come here like this, like this. Okay, so I'm putting my brush in the water and then in the white. So I end up with a really loose white that I'm actually just using like a pencil. And I'm going to turn this towards myself a little bit. I want this guy here, like this. And he's going to be facing this guy. And kind of comes around like this and like this. I'm thinking it could be a This comes around this, this, here, here. Is that big enough? I think so. So his little beaky thing is coming here. The other one, kind of this little beaky thing. Oh, too close. That little beaky thing's too close. Let's take that right off of there. Okay, so this guy is here. And I'm just thinking direction for right now, but it's coming down this way. Right. Beak. Nozzle, what it's called. Coming up here. And actually, they should have been lower so that they're closer to the water. Okay, let's put them here. You can go down here. How's that? You can go here. All right, so what I did is I made just a very light rendition of where those dolphins are going to go. Okay, so here's one here, and here's the other one here. All right, so now I'm actually going to take my white paint and kind of, I'm going to use the white paint as kind of a primer here. Okay, so I want to put these little guys in. I want to see them. This thing's going to come here like this, so I can start to see them a little bit. Okay. And these dolphins are really jumping. Doing this. Right, so we have one kind of doing that, and the other one is doing this. Very cool. Okay, so we can start to see them a little bit. And again, they're kind of white right now, and I'm kind of using that white as a little bit of a primer. I'm gonna clean off my brush and take a little bit of this off, I think. All right, so again, this is a very light coat of paint. And so I'm going to just remove just a little bit of this back fin, just a tip. Okay. And you actually, if you really wanted to, you could actually just draw them out if that's what you wanted to do. This needs to be thinner here. All right, so we're actually drawing right over our clouds, which is fine. All right, so that's what you should have, is you should have a basically oval feel to it, okay? So I'm going to actually let them dry just for a few seconds. And while they're doing that, I am gonna go find some brown paint. Is black paint, or maybe it would like a little bit more black in there. Let's see. Brown. Oh, I have a whole basket of paint in here. Here's more brown. I wonder how much is in here. Let's use an awful lot of brown. Ah, this is a lot of brown. Okay. That's a pretty good brown. Okay, that one has the right consistency to it. So now I am going to take a round brush with a little bit of a point on it. And I'm going to take my brown, just kind of go over my dolphins a little bit. Now, this is going to be the finished dolphin. So take your time, do a good job. All right, and it might take a couple of coats, which is okay. So we want to be careful because you can always build here. And you don't want to actually have to make too many corrections on these dolphins because now they're a dark area on a very light background. So you're better off just going really, really slowly and taking your time. My hand is sticking to the ocean. Come on here. Okay, again, make this a nice smooth stroke. Like I say, let that, build on what you have, but don't put too much and then try to take it away because you will not be happy trying to do that. I'm gonna smooth this out just a bit more here. So he has a nice curve to him. Okay, this is what he's looking like without his fins. So again, take your time with these dolphins because you don't want to have to try to correct them. Okay. So take your time, develop the shapes, which are actually kind of like C shapes, like the letter C, like this. Okay. Okay, now I'm looking for just a little bit of highlight in here, which it should be on the side where the moon is. So I'm gonna dip just a little bit into my white, or what I'm not sure how much white I actually have left in there. I may need to get myself some more white. I'm doing this highlight before I put the fins on. And now this highlight is a very subtle highlight. Okay, and we'll go a little bit more of a highlight a little bit later, but I'm going to put a little bit more white out on my palette. Yeah. There we go. just a tad more. And then I'm going to go back to getting more paper towels. And that's why I have such large rolls of paper towels, because I use them a great deal. All right. So let me see. Let's get this guy here. All right, I'm going to give him some fins. Okay, so one fin is going to come down like this. Now, the fins are just basic triangle shapes, just like that. All right, we want them to have a little curvature to them because dolphins are extremely graceful. Okay, so we want to keep that gracefulness. Again, you want to use a brush that you can do some detailing with. And again, I am using a brush that is large, but has a nice point on it. Okay, so there is one fin. Okay, and the other fin is going to line up on the other side of the body. Okay. Actually, maybe this one could be a bit bigger. Okay, and like I said, don't play around too much here. But I see often students just like, oh, it's not quite right. They do more to it. They do more to it. Before they know it, they have this big kind of thing, and they're like, how do I fix this now? So, and I mean, most things can be fixed. However, some of them can be very time consuming to fix. So if in fact you can kind of avoid having to fix them, that's even better. Okay, so let's put in next. Okay. And again, I'm going really, really slowly and being kind of picky about what's going on here. Okay, this guy, I'm going to make him a little fatter up here. And the reason for making him a little fatter is so he can turn more. Okay. This guy's tail is coming around. Go. Getting a good jump. Getting a good jump on. All right, so again, slowly, slowly. And I'm going to turn this around and move this away, just so I can brace my hand. Give him a little forehead bump. There he goes. There he goes. Now he's cooking. Okay, so now let's do a little work here. Water. And take a little bit off of here. And like I said, best not to have to do it at all. So let's get this on. All right, here we go. It's got just a little too much chin here, maybe. That looks better. And again, a very good reason to take your time and do it slowly, because even though I did that really slowly, I thought I still had to make a correction. Okay. All right, so I'm going to take the bun now and do his other fin. And now it looks so much better. All right. All right. I like it. Okay. So we're going to let these guys dry out a little bit. And before I do, I'm going to do the same thing to this guy I did to the other one. We're going to give him just a little bit of highlight here while he's still wet, so that the highlight can really merge and give him just a little bit of light. So I'll give him a little bit of light here, here. And it's gonna put his fin underneath him and behind him, right? There we go. He is looking awesome. Okay, let's do the same thing to this little man. So this is all this light is giving them, okay, what they need to look round, not just flat on the canvas. Okay. Okay, I'm going to give his fins just a little bit more paint. And this guy, paint. More texture. Okay, okay. I like it, I like it. Okay, so now, all right, we have all this good stuff going on, all right, in our picture. Let's see what we got here. I'm going to move this a little bit more this way. Like I said, it's kind of really sticking to the easel. Okay. So this is what we have here. Okay, this is what we have going on over here. So really, the only thing that's left to do, these splash lines here. Okay, so with the splash lines, we're going to be like really careful. I'm going to fix this fin a little bit. I'm going to be really careful with our splash lines, but the splash lines actually, the more natural that you can make them, the better. So it's like we're going to paint them carefully but naturally. So you'll be like, okay, sure, how do we do that? Okay, so again, a few very light guidelines would be helpful, certainly. But before I do that, see these little splashes that are in there? I'd like to splash some paint on there. So I'm going to take my big flat brush, and again, mucho paper towels. If I can get my flat brush clean, that is. All right, let me see here. It's still very blue. So I'm going to use all my 3 bowls here. And some paper towels. There we go. And what I would like to do is just give myself some direction. So I'm going to use my teensy brush and water down once again the white, just to give myself a little bit of direction, because this guy is coming from here and this guy is way, way up here. Okay, so they're kind of really jumping here. And so even though I want those splash lines there, I also would like to do a little bit of flicking, a little bit of flick. Okay, so again, kind of watering down this just a little bit, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to test it out. Okay, test it out first. See what happens here. So again, the paint needs to be really kind of loose here. And then what I'm going to do is do this and actually hit it. All right. So I'm hoping that it comes out in the right place. I'm going to really work at it so that it does. Oh, okay. That looks pretty cool. Let me try. Oh, nice, nice, nice. And doing a little bit of flicking here. Okay, so I'm getting a little bit of ocean spray, mostly on myself, but that's okay. We do not mind. Okay, so this is what's happening here. All right, we're getting a little bit of ocean spray up here. I'm going to go a little bit with my brush. Now remember that this brush has a watered down white paint on it. So it's not a real, thick. And actually, this little guy, this picture has paint all over it. Okay. right, so we're going to make some flashes up here. Right, and the hardest thing to do, I think, especially for students, is to make splashes after, you know, they've already done so much work. They're like, oh my God, what if I ruin it? Okay, and I agree, you don't want to ruin it at this point, like, but again, you know, there isn't really anything that you could do to your picture that would really, really wreck it beyond, you know, being able to fix it. So you should be able to fix it no matter what. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit more in through here, just like this. And then what you can do is take a paper towel. Okay, and I'm actually going to wet it. Oh, let's see here. Sorry about that. Oh, okay, sorry. Oh boy, okay. Well, never mind then. We'll just let it go. All right, so I'm going to wet this paper towel and then I'm going to kind of put it in the white paint and I'm going to use it like a sponge here. Okay, so I'm going to actually sponge on some of this spray. Okay, I'm dipping into my blue, getting some of that going on up here as well. Okay. All right. Okay. That being said, I believe that we could be done. And we almost made it through without a phone call. We almost made it through without the phone ringing, and I apologize because I thought that I had turned it off. Okay, so I'm going to just, with my brush, kind of go over some of these. And we are going to call this baby done. And this is what it looks like up close and personal. Okay, so you can let it dry and don't forget to sign it. And I want to say thank you to all of you for watching. This will end up being on DATV, BATV, and my YouTube channel. Okay, so I hope, and if you see my YouTube channel, subscribe to my YouTube channel, okay? And that way, when I do anything new, you will get notified right away. Okay, so this is it. This is our masterpiece. All right. Everyone, have an awesomely good day. JonesArtGallery.com is part of, it's a division of IntuitiveBodyAndSoul.com, all right, which is a very people first community of people. And we put out a lot of content. So look at www.intuitivebodyandsoul.com to see everything that's going on. Okay, I am going to say goodbye for now, and everyone stay awesome.